think that would be amazing. Good morning, fellow Toastmasters, on this wintry day. Hope you're all safe. It's nice to have the Zoom feature option, so that way you don't have to drive in the ice and whatnot and try to make the meetings or just not come because of the weather. So I did want to acknowledge that. So it is a nice feature to have so we can still all be together. Jen, I saw you were on. Do you have a few words of inspiration for us today?
I do have some inspirational words. I'd like to start off with a quote from J.R. Tolkien. Still around the corner, there may wait a new road or secret gate. So hopefully all of us in our time this summer or next year or whenever you have time in your future will have an opportunity to discover those new roads and secret gates, whether they're local, within the continental United States or outside of them, because discovery is amazing. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Very nice. Thank you. Well, let's do the Pledge of Allegiance if we could. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
for which it stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. We do have some business to take care of today. We did have an officers meeting yesterday, and we did make some decisions and did some voting on new location exploration. I did want to have Len, who was part of the site visit team, and possibly Beth weigh in and give you guys a summary, and then we can possibly vote to go forward. Len, if you would kind of describe your experiences with the YMCA.
Sure, Mr. President. We've been looking for places actually since before we settled on the YWCA, and there doesn't exist a perfect location for hybrid meetings. Restaurants are typically too noisy because of the background noise of the customers, unless they have a dedicated room, and those are pretty much non-existent in Lockport. So the option of having a waitress service and breakfast in the morning, sadly, does not exist. It's bring your own. That being said, we stumbled upon the YMCA, which we had started to look at during COVID, but just wasn't the right fit then because of all the restrictions and so on. But they have two wonderful, bright, clean meeting rooms, a great size. They hold about 30 people each. We can have one of them every Thursday morning. It's free of charge. They have a storage closet. They have room for our storage locker. The one room has a sink we can set up for coffee. So it's a little bit more set up, and there's some challenges associated with that. We have to unpack, boot up two PCs, get everything working, and then put everything down, put everything in the closet when we leave, and obviously leave the meeting room as pristine as we found it. But they open at 5 a.m. every morning, so access is not a problem. Ample parking. It's exactly 2 miles away from the YWCA in the town of Lockport. So I don't think the location is going to be an undue burden upon anybody. They have free public Wi-Fi. I don't expect there'll be any issues there. And it seems to be like the best fit right now. So the officers meeting last night, we proposed moving there, and in a separate proposal, spending some money to set up 2 audiovisual carts with the different monitors. The room is really not conducive to a projector the way we're doing at the YWCA, so it'll be a large monitor and then a small monitor near the lectern for the speaker. And I think we can make this work in the next couple of weeks and get in there. If anybody would like to stop by and take a peek at it, as soon as you go in the main door, you go to the right, go down the hall. You'll see 2 conference rooms. We would be in the second conference room. The director there is a nice guy. Seems excited about having us there. And certainly the fact that we're a nonprofit makes it free to us because they have a community outreach mandate in their charter. So I think we solved the problem for now, and hopefully within about 2-3 weeks we can get settled and everything tested there and have a new location. Back to you, Mr. President.
Thank you for that summary. So that seems like the best viable option at this point. The officers did approve to go forward, but we do need to get a vote from the membership. Can I call for a motion?
I make a motion.
Oh, hold on. Go ahead. You can make a motion. I had a couple people kind of canned to do it, but go ahead. You want to. Go ahead.
I, Phil Russell, make the motion. We move to the YMCA, where actually Ralph Smedley started the Toastmasters International in California at a YMCA.
There you go.
Hey, do I hear a second?
I second.
Florio with the second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Oh, I,
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes. I'd also like to call for a second motion in regards to the spending of money, as our precedent is if it's over $100, we have to get members' approval. So I'd like to call for a motion, spend up to $400. Anybody would like to make that motion on tech upgrades?
I'll make the motion again.
Okay, I hear a second.
Second.
Any discussion? Questions? Hearing none, call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Second motion passes. Great. Any other announcements we have today? I think there's a couple things. I should acknowledge that we have Jeanette, our area governor, here. So round of applause for Jeanette. She's zooming in here to do one of her site visits. Did a great job organizing the speech contest and whatnot.
And we have another dignitary who just joined our Zoom room. Sam Otto is here.
Wow.
So thank you both for being here, and you get to see us at business meeting in action.
Yeah, gotta take care of stuff today.
Yeah,
That's
it's always
great.
exciting to see that you're moving back to in person. That's awesome.
oh, well.
Oh, well,
Always
we
in
have
person.
been. We have been,
Oh,
but we
okay.
have to move locations. The location we've been at for the last year and a half is now reopening to the public as a venue, and it would cost a lot more. We've been very graciously welcomed by one of our members as one of the leaders at the YWCA, but now we're moving to the YMCA. And yeah, yay, evolution, how things go. And Sam, what is your title again? Are you the quality program something?
Program quality director. So I'm responsible for helping the division area directors get trained and all the club officers. And you probably didn't see me annoying you with a bunch of messages about education opportunities because you have more than 4 club officers trained. So great job. Appreciate all the hard work your club's doing.
Thanks for all the work that you do as well. It is a bigger task at the district level for sure. So good job. Appreciate everything. Okay. Any other announcements? I think Kate might have one.
Oh, yes. Thank you, Gerald, for the reminder. This evening and the next 2 Thursdays after, we will continue with our Zoom tech sessions. 7 p.m. It's easy to remember since we meet at 7 a.m. every Thursday, but it's just like at the same time as our social hours used to be. But 7 p.m. this evening, it will be driven by whoever is showing up. What are we going to go over? Is it pathways? Is it toast? Is it something altogether different? Last time we had a great session. It was all contest based. So it was good practice sessions. It was kind of like contest workshop. So that was great. And we have Thomas going on to the next area contest, which is already not this Saturday, but next Saturday. I said area contest. I meant Division A contest. So bravo both to Thomas and David for being our representatives. It was awesome. So that is both going on. So it's tech sessions at this same Zoom link every Thursday night for the next 3 Thursdays, including tonight. And then next Saturday is the Division A contest, 9 a.m. And the Zoom link is right on the District 65 calendar. All righty. Thank you, Dr. Stevens.
Okay, any other announcements? I did send a email around about a couple presentations from Kate Olson as well that was sent. So check your emails on those. I think one actually occurred possibly already. I think it was on Tuesday. So I think there's still one out there. So if you find those topics interesting, please zoom in and listen. Any other announcements from the floor? Okay, let's get to the good topic today. Mark Campos, our Toastmaster. I'd like to turn everything over to you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Fellow Toastmasters, good morning. Let me get this out of the way first thing. Now, I know we have been trained as Toastmasters to never apologize, but I must apologize this morning. If you've been seeing me on video, you're seeing me working the phones, texting, sending emails, contending with a little bit of a crisis this morning. The good news is we're coming out of the woods. The bad news is there may be some lingering distractions. So I apologize for that. I'll do the best I can today. I think this will be a true test of my Toastmaster skills. But we are going to talk about vacations, and you can be sure that after this morning, I am ready for a vacation. Little housekeeping to start with. Number one, the good news is it looks like we have all our job holders, so thank you very much. A secondary bit of housekeeping, a reminder to everyone, and David Licata, I'm looking at you. If you're not speaking, please be sure to mute your phone so we don't hear any background noise. Thank you. All right, fellow Toastmasters, vacations. Why did I pick this theme aside from another miserable winter storm this morning, ice on my truck? It's also because I'm about to leave on vacation. Saturday morning, I'm heading down to Florida and I cannot wait. Just 2 more sleeps. It is time for my annual escape from the cold trip. The family and I are headed down to Cape Canaveral, where we stayed last year at an Airbnb that we loved so much that we decided to return back again. We've got some nice plans for the week. There are possibly 2 launches we'll get to observe, one of which will be crewed. That should be really cool. Crewed as in C-R-E-W-E-D, not the other crude, mind you. Crew 6, exactly. 4 astronauts, hopefully on their way to the International Space Station. Get to observe a couple launches, one of which, the Crew 6 launch, is supposed to be at night. That should be really spectacular. We've got a cruise set up on a casino boat. That should be a lot of fun too. So needless to say, I am looking forward to it. For this guy, I don't need much on vacations. I don't need sightseeing. I don't need activities. Drop me off at a beach with a cooler. I'm good. Pick me up in a week. We're all set. Very, very simple. So with that, I would like to propose a toast to vacations. Hear, hear. And I remind you that as you speak today, I would like to hear from you. Please share with your fellow Toastmasters something about vacations, your favorite one, your worst one, your dream one, your imminent one, hopefully. So please share something about vacations. Let's move on to introducing our job holders, shall we? First up, our word master is Jason. Jason, do you have a word for us this morning?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, and good morning, fellow Toastmasters. And the word of the day is excursion, and it means a short journey or trip, especially when engaged in it as a leisure activity, and a deviation from a regular pattern, path, or level of operation. And please use it in table topics and throughout the meeting. Thank you. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Jason. Perfect word for today's meeting. Please be sure to use the word excursion at every opportunity, fellow Toastmasters, and I'm sure the word and definition will be placed into the chat as well. Our master and grammarian this morning is our club mom, Jackie Kenny. Jackie, good morning.
Good morning, Mark. And Jason, thank you for a really nice word today. I'm with you, Mark. I like the beach, but I don't need any side excursions. My kids like to be busy all the time, though, so we kind of conflict a little bit. I will be watching, listening, and carefully taking notes on everyone's grammar and usage of our language this morning and reporting at the end of the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jackie. Our quote master this morning is Thomas Heldwine. Thomas, do you have a quote for us?
I most certainly do. Oh, I got a background on it. This is not going to work. Technical difficulty number 1. I guess I'm going on an excursion back to a foreign land. I always love the more obscure, the better. Going on an excursion to like China or India and other third world countries, it definitely gives you a perspective of how good we have it here in America. And the term first world problems becomes a real thing. My quote for the day is going to be by our famous Mr. Anonymous. Fill your life with experiences, not things. Have stories to tell, not stuff to show. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Thomas. Our jester this morning is Eric Schneider. However, Eric, I just noticed in the chat, you said you were still driving. Are you in a position to deliver your jest, or do we need a pinch hitter?
I actually pulled over. I'm in a parking lot, so I'm good to go.
All right, I landed on my feet again. Eric, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Which U.S. state is famous for its extra small soft drinks? A Minnesota. Minnesota, get it? Minnesota? Tough crowd this morning. All right. That's all I have. I couldn't find. Oh, where am I? Hold on. Why did the librarian get kicked off the plane? Because it was overbooked. All right, that's what my jester is, but I have got a story from my vacation, Mark. Back in 2007, we were in Virginia Beach, and what I found in the water was a dead jellyfish, and that scared me completely because I don't know if it's going to sting me, so I just rushed out of the water with sand in my mouth, and it was disgusting. So never want to encounter another dead jellyfish. So thank you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Eric. I believe this next job holder is fresh off of a vacation in Florida based on pictures I saw on Facebook. David Jones is our timer. David.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. I was actually in Tampa on business, but compared to AM Lockport, I guess that would be a vacation because of the weather. Same with my excursion yesterday when I mowed my lawn and had to put on my air conditioner last night here in Charlotte, North Carolina. So I guess I'm always on vacation compared to you all, so I appreciate it. As timer, I will be doing the usual lights. At the allotted time, I will be doing the green background, yellow, and red. And you have a 30-second buffer on each side. The only question I'll have tonight, and I assume Beth will talk about it, will be Phil Russell's time. It looks like he has a couple different things on his project, but we'll get there when she does it. And back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, David. I must admit, I'm having a hard time wrapping my brain around those two facts, the idea of running an air conditioner in February or mowing a lawn in February, but good for you. Our quiz master this morning is Dr. Gerald Stevens. Dr. Stevens.
As quiz master today, my job is to come up with a few fun questions about different topics people have brought up to see if we are using our listening skills. And a short quiz will come at the end. So always a test. Life can be that way sometimes. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Gerald. It's now time for our favorite portion of the Toastmasters meeting, the opportunity to test our skills speaking extemporaneously, and evidently performing double duty this morning. Thomas Heldwine is our table topics master. Thomas.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Well, the person who was not able to be Toastmaster today apparently provided questions and possible candidates for speaking. So I have to appreciate the fact that I was set up for success and that this excursion into doing two roles was not that hard. I don't remember hearing the timer, 1.5 minutes to 2 minutes with a 30-second buffer. But that is the time, and we want to use the word excursion. So with that, the rules being covered, I already talked about some of the things I liked about vacations. What I'd like to hear from is first from Jen. If you were to be given a 2-week all expense paid vacation, where would you go? Who would you take? And what would you do?
2 weeks, you say. 2 weeks to take a small excursion. I'm not sure if that is quite enough time. I would like several months, and I would like to travel the world particularly. I've always wanted to do one of those around the world little cruises where you stop for, a week or two, or maybe if it's someplace you like, even a month at a time, and spend some time on land, because I'm not the most into cruises, definitely not at the Margot level of cruising. However, I would definitely take my boyfriend if he was unavailable. I'm sure my mother would love to come, or my aunt, who I've traveled with quite a lot in the past. I would like to go someplace that I've never been, and I'm not sure exactly where that is. I have a couple of places high on my list, although certain times in the world you may not want to travel to those places. I would like to go to Greece quite a lot, so that might be a place to travel and tour. I'd like to go to Turkey. I'd like to go to Thailand. There really aren't many places I don't want to go and see and try. I've only repeated a couple of countries in the past, and although those happen to be the ones that are easiest to get to, so I may even repeat them again in the future, I would like to see most of the world. There aren't too many places that I don't want to travel to at some point. Thank you, Mr. Heldwine.
Thank you, Jen. Cruising is, I have many stories. So I guess I'm going to jump over to our guests. Would Sam or Jeanette like to speak this morning?
I would be happy to.
Thank you, Sam.
So the
Tell me
excursion,
about,
I'm sorry.
Use the word excursion, yes.
Okay.
And the question is, what is the largest group vacation you've taken, or the worst location you can think of to take a vacation? Whichever one you would like to do.
So, Mr. Table Topics Master, the largest group vacation we have done is camping at Yogi Bear Campground. It's just a little south of where you all are located. And most of my in-laws do not like to go camping. However, Yogi Bear is very modern. They have Wi-Fi. So my nieces and nephew really love going there. It's easy to drag them out of their houses and their video games. And unfortunately, half the time they spend on the tablets and playing. But then they really got into playing laser tag and going to the water park that's there and going on a hey ride from Yogi Bear. They also have a lot of fun events such at the beach where you can go kayaking or paddle boarding. And the kids like to take it to a whole new level. Their balance is a little better than mine. So they like to get up on those paddle boards and determine who the last person standing. It turns into quite the excursion. Fortunately, there's not really a lifeguard right there. Otherwise, we probably would have been kicked out of the park for our crazy excursion. So back to you, Mr. Table Topics Master.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Sam. Amazingly enough, once again, I had a uncle who had a spot at Yogi Bear, and I got to dress up as Boo Boo one year when I was 16 years old. So I got to go around as Boo Boo. I was the perfect height for it, apparently, for the costume. It would be a shame if we didn't hear from Dave Licata this morning, other than the national anthem, or we did hear him there. Dave.
Well, sadly, I haven't been introduced yet, but I am general evaluator.
Yeah,
Oh.
David,
Oh.
I, to my horror, I realized I committed the cardinal sin, the rookie mistake of forgetting to introduce the general evaluator. But as long as you're there and you pointed that
Mark,
out.
I made a note. Mark. So it won't hurt me to do both. Last October was not a good vacation. It was at the end of October, and I decided to meet up with a friend at some the Swan Lake campground in Alexandria Bay, New York, Thousand Islands. I said, well, the Thousand Islands is the greatest fishery in the world, because much like my dear friend Mark Campos, if there's a body of water there, I'm quite happy, but I I have to have fishing gear. So to wrap this up as quickly as I can, never got a nibble in the greatest fishery in the world, Thousand Islands, St. Lawrence Seaway. Couldn't believe it. My buddy's wife got sick and they never showed up. And top that, Annette and I both got sick. So that was the worst vacation. And I'll save the best vacation for a speech if I haven't already done so. So I'm ready for my question, Mr. Table Topics Master. And by the way, the time for Table Topics, you get a 15-second buffer, not a 30. Thank you very much, because that was in my notes as well. Shape up. Go ahead.
All right. Am I unmuted? Yes, I am. Good. All right. So your question this morning, you and Dave have won a vacation to travel with any sports team you want. Doesn't have to be Buffalo, could be any sports team. What sports team are you picking? And what are you looking forward to on this 1 month tag along trip with your favorite sports team? Dave Licata.
All righty. We have to rule out football right away, because that would only be 4 games. So I guess what I would do is, on this baseball excursion, and it's fun to use the word excursion because my dad took me on a baseball excursion from Buffalo to Cleveland to see the Indians play the Yankees. So I'd like to travel with the Cleveland Guardians, and I would make darn sure that I was sitting where everybody could see me in a Cleveland Indians hat and a Cleveland Indians baseball jersey. I can't get over that business. And I can't even tell you, my dear friend Richard Scalzo, who's really a National League guy. You'll appreciate that, Mark Campos. My friend is a National League guy. But his American League team used to be the Indians, and he would buy tickets now and then, and he got a letter from the Guardians, and this is a family meeting, so I can't tell you how he responded to that request for ticket sales. But my son Michael and his friends have gone on a journey where they've tried to hit as many major league parks as they could. And I think that would be fun for myself as well. I do have some fond memories of that train ride from Buffalo to downtown Cleveland. The train station in Cleveland, you could walk to the stadium. And then I went back years and years later with my wife's cousin, who is a local baseball legend, Roy Macaluso, and he put us in a parking ramp. We were there forever. They took the Rolling Stones into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, which belongs in Buffalo. But I've already given that speech, and that's the way it went. So that's my story, my baseball story, even though I'm really just a Bills fan. Thank you, Mr. Tabletop Masters.
Thank you, Dave. I think you're going to wish for that 30-second buffer in about a minute.
Well, I never got any signs about what the time were.
It was Dave Jones. Because speaking of that, Dave, if you could unmute yourself, how did our contestants do time-wise?
As Mark Campos likes to say, 2 out of 3 ain't bad. With our 15-second buffer, we have Jen at 141. She qualifies. Sam at 126. And unfortunately, Dave Licata came in at 218. Mr. Toastmaster, Table Topics Master.
Thank you so much. Our word of the day check is going to go back over to, oh, he jumped on me. There he is, Jason. Jason, did all 3 contestants use the word?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Topic Master, and good morning again. And I think Jen used it once, and Sam used it once, and David used it twice. And all 3 of our contestants qualified. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jason. With that, I don't know if someone's setting up the voting, but that'll be in a minute. But I'm going to hand it back over to our Toastmaster of the day for him to continue. Go ahead, Mark.
Thank you, Thomas. So fellow Toastmasters, once the poll is available, please cast your vote for either Jen or Sam. Due to the stunning development that Dave had just a little too much to say, as shocking as that may be. David, though, as I always say, we tease the ones we love, so forgive me. But with that, would you care to formally share with the order what your role as general evaluator is, please?
I'm sorry, I had to wait for the voting to clear the screen before I could speak. It is the job of the general evaluator to evaluate the Toastmaster of the day and the evaluators. That's it. That's it. Not the general tone of the meeting, just those things. Thank you. And you may have guessed, I really don't care for Zoom.
Thank you very much, David. And again, my apologies for missing you earlier on in the meeting. So when we talk about vacations, my favorite vacation of all time, I thought about this. It probably was the one and only trip that my wife and I took to Hawaii. This was actually before we were married. And we did it all wrong. We stayed the entire time on Oahu in Waikiki Beach, and we still loved every bit of it. We think about going back, going to the other islands. As everyone says, you need to visit all the other islands. I get it. And I always seem to talk myself out of it because of the time it takes to get there and the cost. But one of these days, maybe in retirement, we will return back to Hawaii. Let's move on to the speaking portion of the meeting. Our first speaker this morning will be Phil Russell, evaluated by Beth Banks. Beth?
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. I will say, if we're talking about vacations, probably my favorite was the month-long vacation we took to Europe. I went to visit my Austrian sister. We went on a Viking boat excursion on the Danube, and then we visited our German daughter in Passau, Germany. So that was my favorite. Moving along to Phil Russell. This is a project Phil has been working on for quite a while. We had the opportunity a few weeks ago to listen to his introduction for this project. Today, we will be listening for his speech to wrap this project up. The purpose of the project was for him to practice being aware of his thoughts, feelings, and their impact on others, and sharing that experience with us. So he will be working from the Pathways Innovative Planning, Focus on the Positive. His project title is Focus on the Positive, How Goes It? Phil Russell. Focus on the Positive.
Hey, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, our guests that we have, and my evaluator. I like this topic. Now, let's put things straight. Focusing on the positive is not looking at life through rose-colored glasses. It's not. It has helped me out a lot. I'm on day 77. They only ask you to do 2 weeks. It just gets your mind thinking positive because of all the negative things that come into your head, coming from the outside, coming from the news, all this stuff. I just focus on the positive. And it's helped me out in Toastmasters because I wasn't the best at looking at pathways. But now that I got into it, I found this project and I found 3 others to go on because you people, some of you people out there are probably looking for just one project to start on. Now, I had detached retina surgery, and that was not fun. But if you look at the positive, I'm a very lucky person because I have my eyesight back. I got 20/40 vision. Not saying it's going to last forever, but man, I am a happy person just because I was lucky. And I'm also very thankful for the Zoom. I know some people don't like it, but man, if it wasn't for Zoom, we wouldn't be having this meeting. And number 2, I wouldn't have been able to go through to all those meetings that I was at because of Zoom. So that's just focusing on the positive. Now, let's get back to the topic at hand. Vacations. Whoa. Did you set me up, Mr. Toastmaster? I took 2 of the bestest vacations of my life. And I'm going to tell you about those 2 bestest vacations. First one was with my sister, Jeannie, my baby sister, Jeannie. Well, I was leaving Arizona and I ended up in Las Vegas. We met, did a little gambling, swam in some ocean out there. No, it's not an ocean. It's Lake Powell, I think. And then we took a trip and we did the canyons. How cool is that? We went up, first stop, North Rim of the Grand Canyon. If you haven't done the North Rim of the Grand Canyon, you better put it on your bucket list. That is cool. And there's one of the best hotels you'll ever want to find right there. It is cool just to look through it. You want to go see another one? Go to Zion. Because I went through from Arizona to Nevada, over into Utah, up into Colorado. Now, one of the best stops we had after Zion, and we hit these canyons in Utah, and there's arches, there's canyon lands, you name it. There is some real canyons there. We stopped in to see my sister Lisa when Aspen was Aspen, and we had a circuit. It was still a little bit of a cowboy town. I liked it. And she was the TACO, meaning traffic and animal control officer, and she had responsibility of making sure that the animals were all on leashes and things like that. What a great time we had. And to finish off that travel vacation, we ended up in Niagara Falls. So we went from one great canyon, the Great Grand Canyon, to Niagara Falls. And we're talking about two of the greatest venues in the world, all in one vacation. That was really neat. Now, the next excursion was with an old Toastmaster. Willie's no longer with us. Willie Daniels, Toastmaster. We used to go for little rides. Well, this ride took me again from Arizona, and we were going up to Aspen, and we were going up to Grand Junction, Colorado. We were going to a couple of places. And so I had to show Willie Muley's Point. We did stop at the Grand Canyon, get a glimpse of that, and then headed over to Muley's Point. If you've never been to Muley's Point, it's right off of Mexican Hat. And where you just go by over there by Goosenecks, and then you got to go up the cliff. It's 3,000 feet straight up. Don't worry, it's all switchbacks. It's just a dirt road. They carved it out pretty nice. Willie couldn't take his eyes off the map. He could not. He just sat there like this, glued to the map. I said, Willie, look at it out there. It's great. He said, I can't, Bill. I can't. It's too crazy, scary. I said, well, it's a one-lane road. You don't want to. Hopefully, you won't meet anybody on the way down. We're going up to Muley's Point so we could go and see Old Mexico from a high vantage point. So we got there. Willie got out. You have to keep an eye on Willie because he sometimes gets too close to the edge, and I had to pull him back once because they're gradual slopes down there. One misstep and you're gone. Willie, I ain't gonna come looking for you. I'll just on my way out of here, I'll just stop at the ranger's office, tell them you're down there someplace about 3,000 feet down there. They could find you later on. But he didn't fall. So we went on up to Grand Junction to see some of our friends, went to some great cowboy bars, and then we went on to Aspen to see my sister Lisa. What a great trip. But riding with Willie could be a very big adventure because when he's on an excursion, he gets very well focused. And he was so focused, I still can't get over that, him watching that map, like he wouldn't take his hands off and he would not move his eyes. Now you're looking at some of the greatest canyons in the world from that vantage point. And he did get to see them when we got to the top. That's the good point. Now, this thinking positive, that's all it is. Think and focus on the positive. Don't look at the world through rose-colored glasses. Look at it in a positive way, and it will change you because in Toastmasters, it's helped me. My eye, it helped me with the physical thing. And just on this speech, it helped me too, because now you're just focusing. You're still going to have the negativity come in there. It's going to bombard you. It will bombard you. However, do like the Bankses. I'm right now, I see Beth out there. The Bankses are so positive. That's why I love the Celtic Festival so much. I don't think they ever see anything wrong. She's always in the middle of turmoil and does it. So it is, you've got to, and Beth the same way. And you know where they got that from? Mrs. Banks, our freshman English teacher. Focus on the positive. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Phil. Our second speaker this morning is Les Robinson, and Les will be evaluated by Marty Johnston. Marty.
Good morning, Mark. Good morning, fellow members.
And a special welcome to our area director, Jeanette, and our program quality director, Sam. Welcome. And Lester, what a great opportunity for me to evaluate Les. He's working on the pathways, the PR strategies. Project 1, level 4. It's a 5 to 7 minute presentation. Public relations strategies. And the objective is for the member to practice skills needed to effectively use public relations strategies for any group or situation, and to share some aspect of his or her public relation strategy. As I said, it's a 5 to 7 minute speech project. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Marty. Fellow Toastmasters, please join me in welcoming Les Robinson with How to Promote Yourself with PR. How to Promote Yourself with PR, Les Robinson.
Good morning. How to promote yourself with PR. Opening is, if you know how to promote yourself correctly, you can save thousands and thousands of dollars and avoid being taken advantage of. First thing what you need is to have a PR strategy. Know where you're going to go, know what you're going to want to do, know what your objectives are. And when I use a PR strategy, which I've been using for 20 years, my objective was to promote myself, my business, and what I do. That's number one. Number two, you have to have an objective. Okay, so you can't walk into PR and do the shotgun approach and let's hit everything what you want to do. Your objective is that you want to get what you are trying to present to the public. And we'll give you an example. I'm working on the other level 4 Toastmasters project. And what we're trying to do is we're building blocks to do a great open house. Okay. Next one is to define your message. And this is an interesting part of it, because some people, when they design their message, they go on an excursion that they don't talk about their product or what their services are. They go far, far away. So you want to make sure that everything is on target. If you want to talk about cups of coffee, we're going to talk about cups of coffee. You don't want to come back in and start talking about coffee and have a calculator there. Those things, there's a disconnect. When you're promoting yourself or promoting your organization, you want to keep it all the same, going down, identifying what you want to do, and hit the target. Next one is to know your audience. And we're going to have a little quick story on that one. Is many years ago, I went to do an advertisement, and I wanted to be in the financial section of this one magazine. And I got the magazine in the mail, and they said, here is your article and here's your PR. I was in the assisted living section of the thing. It would be like going to Glenwood Cemetery and selling caskets next to the burial. I said, where did you do this? Well, they refunded my money and I got everything taken care of, but you have to know your audience. I talk about long-term care. I look at people that have had a long-term care event or going to have a long-term care event or in crisis planning or want to just overall prepare. That is what my audience does. It provides for my insurance, selling my book, and my services. Next thing is to research and be a friend of the media. And why do I say that? Because the media 20 years ago, it worked. I was on radio stations in Ohio, Pennsylvania, all across New York. I was on AM Buffalo. I was a news resource. I was all over the place. Going forward, and I do send stuff for Christmas to the media people locally, but I realized that I don't have the media resources I once had. That's why a couple of weeks ago, I spoke at the meeting with the next project of promoting the project. It's very simple, is that people, I could back in the day call Channel 7 up and get on Channel 7 within a day or two. Today, I don't know anybody at 247. That's why I ask people in our organization if they know anybody at 247 Spectrum or the Buffalo News. Because what happens is if Les Robinson sends a PR to Channel 7, it's going to be sitting out in the park.
It appeared Les's connection is frozen.
Yeah, I keep hoping he's going to come back or his connection will catch up, but we may need to consider moving on. Just give it a few more seconds before we do that.
Unusual. He's never had tech issues. Huh. Oh, did he drop right off? Maybe he's gonna try to get back on.
Yeah, let's give him a moment to try to reconnect. Anyone like to share something about vacations? Who haven't we heard from this morning? Kate, why not you?
Why not? I would love to take an excursion when we wake up on these icy mornings. For anyone not nearby, it's icy today. It's definitely snowy. I could see the grass yesterday. I couldn't mow it. Nobody mow your lawn. That was a nice thought. I will be taking an excursion down to North Carolina soon, though, in May. It's my girlfriend's bachelorette party, and they rented a house in the hills. So I'm super excited to get down to the Smoky Mountains for an excursion and enjoy nice weather, because in May here, it might be nice, but it might not be. So I'm looking forward to getting to better weather. Any sign of him?
Not yet.
I am your next evaluator, so I'm on deck as needed, as long as Mike is ready.
Ready.
All right, so it doesn't look like, thank you, Kate, for sharing that. Doesn't look like Les made it back on. So I guess we'll move on to our third speaker this morning, which is Mike Florio, and Mike will be evaluated by Kate. Kate, you're back on.
And I am honored to be Mike Florio's evaluator. Mr. Timer, the speech length is 5 to 7 minutes. This is from the effective coaching path, and it's level 1. It is the evaluation project. The purpose of the project is to practice applying feedback and serve as a speech. Oh, wait, I chose the wrong one. I did this wrong. But anyway, he gets to speak twice. This is the project 1 of the 2, where he is presenting any topic, and then he will use the feedback he receives today to prepare for the next speech. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Kate. Fellow Toastmasters, please join me in welcoming Mike Florio with Down on the Farm. Down on the Farm, Mike Florio.
Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, our guests, and Kate, thank you really for everything. You know what I mean by that too. Thanks. Thanks a lot. So behind me is my latest obsession, and it's taking most of my time, my vacation time, and it's a farmhouse that I purchased in 2017. And I'm not really a farmer, okay? I'm more of a golfer. And the reason I purchased this place was because there's 14 acres right next door to a golf course. And I thought, well, maybe this is zoned recreational. I could work out a deal with the golf course. And then what they could do is, they didn't have a driving range. So I said, hey, build the driving range on there, and maybe I could, use your golf course facility, gratis, right? Or make a couple bucks. But a month after I bought this place, the owner of the golf course decided to take a permanent vacation in Florida. He took everything and left, and now the golf course is a field. So that is sometimes the way things go. Now, when I purchased it, I already had a tenant in there, and the tenant, she told me, she said she was going to stay there for about a year, you know, and get out. And it would be a problem. Well, now it's 5 years later. And now we have to go in and we have to rehab. And, you know, we have a system of how we do these things when we go in. And it's pretty simple. You know, every house has its unique issues and needs solving, but it's pretty basic. You demo, you do the electric, you do the plumbing, you do the heating, the flooring and the painting, and you pretty it up. And next thing you know, it's ready for the next tenant. But this house behind me was built in 1880. So it is the oldest house I know, and the largest, the oldest house I own, and the largest home that I own. So it has definitely its unique quirks about it. The demo, when we went in, we brought in a dumpster day one. That dumpster was filled in 2 hours. And there's still things that need to come out of there. The person that was living there was in 5 years under my watch, and then probably 10 years before that. So there were things when she left that I'm still pulling out of there. It's a process. It's clean, destroy, until you get it to where it's rentable again. Now, right now, we just finished the electrical stage, which that's the second stage, and I'm very happy about that. But when I got there, it's, you know, during the winter, and there were no lights in any of the rooms. So when the tenant left, she took all the lamps that you plug in. So this is an older house. Normally, you'd go into a bedroom, you flip the switch on the side, and in the middle of the room, there's a light. We kind of take it for granted. Not one bedroom, not the living room, not the bathrooms, none of them had lights. So now there's light. Now you can go into the house and actually work on it beyond 4:30, because at 4:30, that house was completely dark. The plumbing, which is next on the agenda, there are lime green tub that we have to contend with, lime green toilet, lime green sink in the one bathroom, and all that has to go. So there's more demo, and then we put the new stuff in. There's flooring. All the old carpeting's been there probably for at least 10 years. All has to go. Then we paint. What's in there now is what's called plaster and lath. So some of it you can touch and it is solid as a rock. Other, you touch it and it turns to dust. So we have to go through every room, but it's an adventure. You know, it's a balancing act, right? To keep the features of the house, of a really nice, beautiful old house, and then put in some of the features that we like and that we feel that, you know, need to be updated. What we try and do as a family is we try and breathe new life back into these old houses. And really, when we're done, the final test is, would we live there? Would we live in this house? And most times it's usually that way. We'd say, wow, you know, a little bit of paint, floor here. It's someplace that we would like to live in, and we wouldn't mind living in it. It's only a quarter of a mile up the house, up from our house right now. We call it our cottage of the north. So that's kind of like our vacation place right now. That's what I'm trying to tell people. Let's go up to the cottage, do a little work. You know, it can be overwhelming to do all this stuff. So we do it in small bites. You know, normally we could turn over a house in, say, maybe 2 months. This one, we might be thinking about 8 months, because it's so large and there's so much to do. You know, it's a test of self-motivation, really. You've got to kind of push yourself and the people around you to say, okay, let's go. We know what the goal is. The goal is to get this rentable within a certain time period. So you push. And, you know, there's a lot of work to be done, but we all kind of get together and we know what the goal is. And, you know, with this house, sometimes you roll the dice, right? I rolled the dice. It didn't pan out exactly the way I did, the way I wanted it, but we're going to make the best of it. And we always seem to win out in the end. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Mike. Les Robinson, we're glad to see you made it back. Les, I'm not sure how much you had left. If you want to attempt to pick it up where you left off, or I could forego any further filler I have. If you wanted to start over, it's up to you. Still muted, Les.
Yeah, Mark, I'll finish the last 2 minutes of the speech. We had a glitch of the power and we're done. So we're back running. So I will tee up at my speech and we got about 2 minutes left. I believe I was at 4:12, I believe.
Had you at 3:50 when you froze.
Oh, well, I had 4. Okay. All right. So I will go back up and we will double it and then work backwards. So, all right, I'm ready. All right. So what you want to do is be a media resource, newsworthy, very important. Is because as people know who you are, it helps out. And that's why in the organization, when I came a couple weeks ago, I wanted people to understand if they knew people at channel 247, Les Robinson sends his PR, it's not going into the bin. If someone from our organization sends a PR to someone they know at the local media, we're going to be able to promote our open house. Very important. Next thing is, this is kind of funny, is the free PR. Okay, back in the day, I used to put tons and tons of stuff out on the internet and you could do it in 25 minutes. When I was dating, this was like 20 years ago, which was really kind of funny, is that I would put stuff out about myself and then I would be out dating and then I would be at people's houses and they would talk about stuff that they did these background checks on me. So it was actually kind of funny. But going forward to today is what you want to do is there's Google, there's LinkedIn, there's Twitter, there's Facebook, YouTube. Now, one important thing is I went to Google to sell my book. That was part of my PR program. And I met with the Google expert and they said, we can get you a great plan and this and this and this. And she says, we can get this done. Well, give me a few minutes and we will have a plan for you and you will be promoting yourself. So I'm like, cool. So she comes back and she says, I've got a plan. What they did is they went in and they copied my website. And my thing to Google was to sell my book, the link to Amazon. And what happened, real simple, is we're here to promote your site. I said, I don't really care about promoting my site. I want to promote the book. They said, well, promote your site. And I went around and around and around. And finally, I said, how much do you want this? She goes, well, this will be like $1,000 a month to promote your website. I said, well, number one, I'm not going to pay $1,000. Number two, I want to promote the book. And number three, you're not listening and I'm not promoting my site. So I let it go. So at the end of the day, what you want to do is develop something that's a win-win. You want to make sure you're on the search engine. You must make sure you have an objective. And at the end of the day, if you have a good program, you will promote yourself and it will be great for your career. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Les. Glad to have you back and glad you were
Hey, no
able to
problem.
finish your speech.
Thanks.
Mr. Timer, can you give us a timer's report, please?
Yes, sir, Mr. Toastmaster. And speaking of vacations, I'm glad to hear you are going to the east coast of Florida, because if you would have been on my plane on Sunday heading to Tampa, you would have been horrified. It was full of Yankee fans going to spring training. Our times with the 30-second buffer, everybody qualified. We had Phil at 7:15, Lester at 6:09, and Mike at 6:54. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, David. So when the poll appears, fellow Toastmasters, please cast your vote for Phil, Les, or Mike. Very briefly, when I think of worst vacations, I can't really think of any real disasters, but a couple that I would say fell flat. David mentioned the Thousand Islands. I went with my family to the Thousand Islands, and not that it's not a nice place, a wonderful place, but you really need a boat. We didn't have a boat, so strike one. And I don't fish, so strike two. Maybe someday I'll go back with someone who has a boat. The other vacation that fell flat would have been my honeymoon, and bear with me on this, because we went to Cancun, and both my wife and I came down with Montezuma's Revenge. So it was a bit of a contest as to who would reach the bathroom first and get to use it. And also we went right in the aftermath of a hurricane that hit Cancun. But if that's the worst I ever had, then I'd say I'm doing pretty well. We'll move on to the evaluation portion of the meeting. Our first evaluator will be Beth Banks. Beth.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. What an opportunity to evaluate Phil Russell. It's very difficult to evaluate someone who's been doing this for so long. Of course, he excelled at his hand gestures, eye contact, quite the storyteller. So we enjoy hearing about his stories on vacation. I would say he also needs to work on a few things. Phil has a habit of interjecting a word that possibly isn't a word or doesn't fit, but he does that for effect. That's okay with me, but Festus, I love it. Okay. He uses the connecting word now. Have to be careful about that. He did an interesting job of combining today's topic with the purpose of his speech, which is rather difficult, I believe. I think we would have gotten more from his particular project and known more about that if he had told one vacation story and moved on to the project. I would really like to hear more about his project and how you do move from being maybe negative to more positive. I think all of us need that during COVID. How do we move from the negative all around us to the more positive? So I would just recommend that you use that a little bit more, Phil. I do have to correct you. It really wasn't my mother-in-law who gave me a positive attitude. It was my mother, who I don't believe you ever met. She's been gone for 32 years, so I don't think you met her, but she was my positive influence during my life. As usual, we love listening to Phil and the stories he has to tell. So tell us more about your stories, Phil. We love it. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Beth. Our second evaluator this morning will be Marty Johnston. Marty.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster Mark. And Lester, thank you for regaining your composure and following through with what Phil Russell's speech was all about focusing on the positive. Did a wonderful job. I'm glad you reconnected. I'm glad everything's okay. Les, you excelled this morning at eye contact and clarity. It was easy for me to understand what you were saying about the PR strategy, about your topic. I like that you used a visual aid when you were talking. You held up the coffee cup as an example. I would have liked to actually seen you hold up your book at some point when you were talking about the PR strategy. That would have been right on the money with perfect timing. You laid out
the important points that you feel were necessary for the PR strategy. And I jotted down, I've jotted down six main points, and you gave us some excellent examples, and you painted a nice colorful picture with those examples of the main points in the PR strategy. With that said, I feel you definitely accomplished the purpose of the speech. Again, to remind the audience, was for you to share some aspect of your PR strategy. And I applaud you for using the Toastmasters project and learning more about yourself and your business. And also that second project you're working on the path for the benefit of the club. Wonderful. A couple things to work on to improve for next speech. I did mention the other prop. I know that you used the prop. I would have liked to see you hold a book. Gestures were fine. I would say for audience engagement and audience awareness, I would like being you, and in your next speech, offer up those steps to the membership. For example, you could say, these are some things that work for me. If you'd like, I could send them to you and you can try it and see how they work for you, and you can modify them a little bit. But I spent a lot of time and effort and hard work on these steps, and they work for me. They may work for you with a little tweaking, perhaps, but you could try these. The steps work for me. And you could possibly offer your service and say, if you need a hand, let me know. I've been doing this for the last so many years, and it seems to be working for me. But that's what I would do, Les. I would say definitely to engage the audience, to offer your services, your PR service, and your knowledge and expertise, because we know you have a lot of experience. Les, as always, nice to hear from you, and I'm glad that you focused on the positive. Thank you. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster Mark.
Thank you, Marty. Our third and final evaluator this morning is Kate Orr. Kate.
Thank you very much, Mr. Toastmaster. And thank you, Mike. I always love hearing from Mike. And I believe that AM Lockport is very fortunate to have you back after a time away. You always bring us something to chew on and humor. You bring us laughs. And today you gave us just that. Your toolbox is full. You were a seasoned Toastmaster, but getting back into the groove of this is not easy for anyone. And using Zoom hasn't been easy for a lot of us either. You are doing a fantastic job of showing us what grit and persistence can give us. Your toolbox is full of things like your voice, your tone. You have a smooth pace. Your vocal variety is very effective to emphasize your story. Plus, I think of it as natural humor, but I haven't known you your whole life, so I don't know if that's something you've worked on or it just comes through. It probably continues developing because of your personality, and you're giving us all these glimpses into that when you speak. I think that you are motivating because you keep showing us that determination. For anyone who isn't aware, this isn't Mike's mainstay right now. This is like a side massive project for years, in addition to his very busy day job. And I love hearing about it. I'm not sure if I would go for it. And I really think what you're doing is fantastic for your own security and financial security, plus that it's fun, that it's sometimes fun, that it's interesting, and it's good for our area to be rehabbing places that need facelifts. And you're doing great by doing that. Now, being a seasoned Toastmaster, it's challenging for me to find solid suggestions, except that we always can. as well as the fact that for this project, you have to use feedback for the next time. I loved your background. I loved your hat tip to golf. I loved all of that. Perhaps to challenge yourself, use more slides. And I don't mean make a slideshow with 10 or 20 slides, but because you are also using tech for work, this would be a good professional practice anyway, to have something like maybe 3, 4, 5 additional slides. You give us such a good story with the visuals. We can all visual the dumpster fill. We can all visualize a lot of what you described, but you could show more of that with visuals, even if it's not of your own thing, something funny using your sense of humor, a giant dumpster that's not even connected to what you're doing, but it's like from a massive construction project, just to show a funny twist. I can't wait to hear it again. I may or may not be your evaluator next time. I appreciate you very much, Mike. Thank you for the laughs and the speech. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Kate. David Jones, our timer. Can we have your final timers report, please?
Yes, sir, Mr. Toastmaster. Beth came in at 2 minutes and 14 seconds. Marty went a little bit over at 3 minutes and 44 seconds. And Beth came in at 3:03, Mr. Toastmaster.
Beth Jr.
So there you have it, fellow Toastmasters. Please cast your vote once the poll is available for either Beth or Kate. A family affair today. Fellow Toastmasters, I'll leave you with this. When I think of bucket list vacations, the only thing that comes to mind is I've never been to Europe. And I feel so inadequate in this group of Toastmasters because so many of you are so adventurous and world travelers, particularly Dr. Stevens. I, on the other hand, have traditionally been an ugly American. I tend to prefer places where they use dollars and speak English, but someday I will head over to Europe, probably 2 trips. One, I think Italy will have to be a trip on its own, because that's at least the dominant part of both my wife and I's heritage. Plus, I think we'll enjoy the food there quite a bit and want to stay. And then I think we'll plan another trip to visit some of the other assorted countries in Europe that we would like to see at some point. With that, I will hand control of the meeting over to our general evaluator, David Licata. David.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Toastmaster. I will be handing it back to you for the reports. I would prefer to do it that way. Thank you very much. And don't worry, Marky boy, I'll take you fishing, and maybe I'll even take you fishing in Italy. Who knows? Mark, you're very fortunate that your setup, when you go to work and you set up for Zoom, you have an amazing camera angle, you have more than adequate lighting, and you have this very professional surroundings. So I wanted to make a note of that. And you handled the Les situation in an excellent fashion. That was beyond anything that anybody needed, and you came out of that and you showed us how to handle things. But don't worry, I want to salute you, Mark. You did an excellent job. I'm not that fond of Zoom, but when you're Toastmaster, it shows Zoom to its best light. I'm not that fond of Zoom, but Zoom did save our club, and I can't deny it. All righty. One moment, please. I got to flip the sheet here. All righty. Our second evaluator, or I'm sorry, our first evaluator was Beth Banks. And this morning, in light of all Phil's medical situations, which he's had surgery on, he needed surgery this morning, and Beth Banks was a surgeon. And Phil Russell is a more than experienced Toastmaster, more than an experienced speaker. So he knows how to take the surgery well. But I want to salute Beth for correcting him on this and that and the other things. But you did use a sandwich approach, and you told them what you liked about the speech, you told them what could be improved, and you told them what you loved about the speech. So you did an excellent job as an evaluator this morning, Beth. Thank you so much. And we got Marty. What a great background this morning. What great lighting. What great camera angle. You were every bit as presentable as Mark. You did a great job. So I wanted to highlight that because I've given you so much grief about it in the past. You did salute Les for muddling through the crisis, and you did a fine job of evaluating until you decided to double clutch and repeat yourself. And that's what caused you to go over, which was a shame, because we should have had the opportunity to vote for you this morning. But I'm just commiserating with you. Okay. And we got to find the final installment of the bet. Okay, Katie Banks. Okay, Katie had a good camera angle, and for some reason, I didn't mind the blurry background. I found it quite dreamlike and kind of relaxing. And I wanted to point out that you had an opportunity to tell Mike that avocado is a funnier word than lime green, but that's just my own picadillo. But you did a great advice. You had great advice about the slides, because when you do a speech like Mike did, it just screams for before and after photos. Now, Mike's not done yet, so maybe the after shots weren't in the cards, but that's something that all of us can remember for the future. So I reported on the Toastmaster of the Day and the evaluators. Thank you very much, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, David. For someone who doesn't like Zoom meetings, you pretty much served the role as tech master today. So kudos to you, David. You will embrace the technology whether you like it or not. I will call for some reports at this point. Our quizmaster, Gerald Stevens, please test our listening skills.
Due to time brevity, I will just do 3 questions today to make it short. What is the largest group vacation that Sam Otto went on? Where did he go?
Oh, he went to
Yellowstone.
Camping. Yogi
Just
Berra.
camping.
Oh, bear out.
It's Jellystone.
Jellystone.
It's Jellystone. It's not Yellowstone. So I went.
Jellystone, correct. What river in Europe did Beth do a cruise on?
Danube.
Good job. And my favorite one of the meeting, who was on David Jones's flight to Tampa that will horrify Mark Campos?
You bunch of Yankee fans.
Yankee fans.
Heading to spring training.
Those damned Yankee fans. Thank you very much, Dr. Stevens. Yes, those Yankee fans are an obnoxious bunch. Our master and grammarian, Jackie, can you give us a report, please?
I can. I'm editing for brevity, but I wanted to point out that Gerald had an ah in his intro, and Jason had more than 5 ahs, but he's working on it. Let's see. Les punctuates with wanna. He used wanna way too much. You have 2 different words together. And let's see, Marty used a lot of very positive language in his evaluation. I really liked hearing his vocabulary this morning. Mike Florio had a start over, but now we come to Phil. Mrs. Banks would be so disappointed, Phil. However, I love that you're using this project in Toastmasters to change your attitude. And because I've known you for so long, I know how difficult that is. You've really turned into a positive person recently, and it's wonderful to hear. However, you don't think positive, you should think positively. And your grammar is impossible to define. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie. Our final report will be from our word master, Jason. Jason.
Yeah, thank you again, and good morning, fellow Toastmasters. I heard Jackie use it once, Thomas used it twice, and Jane used it once, Sam used it once, Dave used it twice, and Kate used it 3 times. And that is my report this morning, and thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much. At this point, I would like to announce our winners this morning. Drum roll, please, for Best Table Topics, Jen Zapla. Best Evaluator this morning is Kate Orr. Kate, congratulations. And our best speaker this morning is Mike.
Hang on. So it seems to be stuck on.
Is Mike Florio. Mike, congratulations.
Any,
All right, with that, unfortunately, our guest Sam had to leave due to an emergency, but I'd like to ask our guest Jeanette for your impressions of our meeting this morning.
It is always a great day to start with AM Lockport. Your group is just so robust and so full of energy. It's great. I just wish I could make more meetings. I love the theme and how you wove it through. I was really upset when Sam got to talk because excursion is my jam. I have traveled to 30 different countries. I have had, my largest excursion was 26 people, family members, immediate family members. We've done that 3 times. And I'm also going to Hawaii. So Mark, if you need any information, I'm going on my honeymoon, a couple years overdue due to a COVID wedding. And we're cruising to all the different islands. And those excursions should be great. So I can fill you in on that. The other thing that I love is how wonderful your Zoom master just keeps the flow and pins people up so they're always in the top. This is probably by far the best Zoom meeting that I have ever been to, even professional ones that I listen to. So great job, team. You guys are doing a fantastic job. I love to see 21 people in your meeting. That just inspires me to continue to try and grow Clarence Toastmasters. And I'm not sure exactly what our issue is, but it's just really great to see such a robust group of people, great speakers, and just really connected. So keep up the good work. And I look forward to coming into another meeting, hopefully in person next time. But it's also nice to have a Zoom option. Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you very much. And I would like to second that sentiment. Len Thornton does this so seamlessly and so seamlessly to us that I think maybe we run the risk of taking him for granted. So Len, kudos to you for your technical wizardry every week that makes this happen. So thank you very much. At this point, I'd like to turn control of the meeting over to our club president, Dr. Gerald Stevens.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, everybody, for participating, and it was a great meeting for sure. I did want to make an announcement that on behalf of Beth, that dues are due. So we have collected 1/3 of the dues. So those of you that still owe dues, please forward in any fashion to Beth. Next meeting participants. And who is in charge? Carol Halstead is the Toastmaster. Alternate speaker is David Jones. Speaker is Jason. Jill Roaring. and Tracy Farrell. That's who I have on deck. And that, since it's 8:30, I'd like to conclude the meeting unless there's anything else. All right. We look forward to seeing you all next week. Have a good week.